Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today into some pretty interesting transfer talk around Aston Villa.
Always exciting this time of year, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, especially with the reports we've got from TNT Sports. We're going to focus in on their strikers, Ollie Watkins and Duran.
Yeah, two very different situations, but both kind of highlight the challenges clubs face in this window.
Right, so picture this. You're Unai Emery. Got these two talented strikers, but big clubs are sniffing around. What would you do?
Well, let's break it down, shall we? Starting with Watkins. We all know what he brings to the table.
Oh, absolutely. England international, scores goals, proven himself in the Champions League. No wonder Arsenal's put in that £60 million bid.
60 million. That tells you a lot about how Arsenal view him. They need someone who can come in and make an instant impact. Someone who can handle the pressure of a title race.
Yeah, they need someone who can perform on the biggest stage. And Watkins has shown he can do that.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Emery has been very clear about Watkins' importance to his plans.
He's even said that Villa will be very demanding in any negotiations.
Very demanding. I think that's more than just trying to get a higher price.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, Watkins isn't just a goal scorer. He's a leader in that Villa side. He embodies the kind of work ethic that Emery demands.
That makes sense. You can't just buy that kind of presence.
Exactly. But then you have Duran, a completely different scenario unfolding there.
Yeah, young player, loads of potential, just signed a new contract too. But then Al Nassr come in with a £64 million offer?
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we all knew he was talented. 12 goals and 29 appearances for a young player is impressive. And West Ham had that $57 million bid rejected earlier. But this is just
another level. It really makes you wonder what's going through Duran's head, doesn't it?
I mean, on one hand, you've got the chance to play with Ronaldo, potentially earn a crazy amount of money.
But on the other hand, you're leaving a club where you're clearly developing playing in the Champions League.
And that's where Emery's comments about it being good news get really interesting.
Good news? How do you spin that?
It's clever, right? He's framing it as a positive, highlighting Villa's ability to nurture talent, get a great return on their investment.
But you still have to wonder deep down, does he really think selling Duran is the better move?
Especially since Duran was an unused sub in that recent Champions League match.
And there were reports he was saying goodbye to the fans after the game.
It certainly seems like something's brewing. It's like a high-stakes poker game. Emery's holding his cards close to his chest. We'll have to see if he's bluffing or if he genuinely believes this is the right move for Villa's future.
Right. And that's what we'll be exploring further in this deep dive. Makes you think about the bigger picture, right? Selling a young player like Duran, that's a huge financial boost for Villa.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking transformative kind of money here. You could strengthen the squad in several areas, maybe even attract a big-name signing. Real statement of ambition.
But then what happens if, what if Duran becomes a superstar? Wouldn't they regret letting him go?
That's the gamble, isn't it? It's like you're betting on your scouting system, your development system, to just produce another Duran. And that's never a guarantee.
Plus, it's not just about replacing the goals he scores. What kind of message does it send to the other young players at the club?
Right, exactly. Suddenly, it looks like Villa are more interested in, quick profits than building a dynasty.
But from a, purely financial standpoint, wouldn't that money be hard to turn down? Especially for a club like Villa.
It's a tough one. I mean, you can see what Emery's trying to do.
Right.
He's walking that line between smart business and building a competitive team. And let's not forget, Villa have a history of, developing talent and then selling it on for a profit.
It's part of their DNA, you could say.
Right. But things are different now. They're back in the Champions League. They've got a manager with a proven track record. Maybe it's time to start thinking like a club that's ready to win trophies.
Yeah, maybe it's time to shift gears a little bit.
And that's what makes this whole debate so interesting. Is Emery just maximizing Villa's assets, knowing they're not quite ready to challenge the elite? Or is he, missing a chance to build something really special?
I mean, if Duran stays, it sends a signal to the fans, the players, everyone, that Villa are serious.
Yeah, it becomes a statement of belief in the project, in Emery's vision. They're resisting that temptation of the quick payday and focusing on the long term.
But then you've got to think about Duran's ambitions too, right? He's clearly a talented kid, hungry for success. Would staying at Villa really be the best thing for his career?
I mean, we can only speculate there. Maybe he sees playing with Ronaldo as a chance to learn from the best. take his game to another level. Or maybe he values the stability of Villa, where he's going to get opportunities.
It's a crossroads, isn't it, for both Duran and for Aston Villa. Whatever they decide will have it'll have a big impact for years to come.
These transfer sagas, they always come down to this clash of perspectives, this weighing of priorities. That's what makes them so interesting.
And speaking of interesting, remember how Emery called these offers good news? I mean, come on. Is it really good news for Villa fans?
Yeah, on the surface, it sounds like spin, like a way to downplay losing a key player.
So you're saying there's a chance he genuinely believes selling Duran is the best move, even if some fans don't like it?
Exactly. I mean, he's looking at the bigger picture, right? He's considering things we might not even be aware of. Maybe he's got other targets in mind, players who'd be a better fit for his system, players who'd actually benefit from the money Duran's sale would bring in.
It's like a chess game. Every move has consequences.
And sometimes the best move, the smartest move, is the one nobody sees coming.
And this is where Emery's experience comes in, I think. He's managed at the top. He's dealt with these kinds of decisions before.
He gets it. The pressure, the complexities, that balance between what's practical and what's ambitious.
Right, and it's that balance that makes this whole thing so intriguing. On one side, you've got the lure of that financial game, the chance to really reshape the squad.
And on the other, the possibility of developing a young talent into, well, a world-class player.
Yeah.
Building a legacy that's about more than just, short-term profits.
And that's what we're going to be talking about in the final part of this deep dive. What would you do if you were in Emery's shoes? Would you cash in on Duran? Or would you hold on hoping he becomes the future of Aston Villa? I mean, it feels like we're seeing like a snapshot of what's happening in football right now. The Premier League, all that money, Arsenal going after Watkins.
Yeah, and then you've got these other leagues like the Saudi Pro League, totally changing the game with those huge offers for players like Duran.
It's almost like a global battle for the best players.
Exactly, and for those players, it's going to be a tough decision. Do you go somewhere like Arsenal, maybe win a trophy, maybe not play as much?
Or do you take the money, play with Ronaldo, but maybe, I don't know, maybe your career doesn't quite reach its full potential?
It's more than just what happens on the pitch, right?
Yeah.
It's their whole career.
It's like, what are your priorities? What do you really value? Short-term success, long-term. I mean, imagine Watkins goes to Arsenal, they win the league, but then a few years later, Villa are a top team. Does he regret leaving?
And what about Duran? Let's say he goes to Al Nassr, makes a ton of money, but then what? What if he doesn't improve? Will he think, what if I'd stayed at Villa?
It's so hard to know, but it's those decisions that tell you a lot about a player.
And for Villa, I think selling Duran would almost be like saying, we're not ready to compete at the very top just yet.
But keeping him, that shows real belief, right? That they're building something special, even if it takes time.
It all comes back to Emery, doesn't it? He obviously sees Watkins as a key part of his plan. But can he convince him to stay when a club like Arsenal comes calling? That's the challenge when you're trying to build a winning team.
It makes you think about, what does success actually look like for a club like Villa? Is it winning a trophy right now? Or is it building a foundation for the future, even if you have to make tough decisions along the way?
It's a balancing act. You need to be financially secure, but you also need to have an identity. You need the fans to believe in what you're doing. Maybe selling Duran allows them to make some smart signings, push the club forward, or maybe it creates a problem they can't fix. It's impossible to say for sure.
And that's what makes these transfer windows so exciting. We can talk and analyze and guess all we want, but we just have to wait and see what happens.
It's a good reminder that football's not just about the 90 minutes on the pitch. There's so many stories going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, so much more than meets the eye. So keep watching Aston Villa, because the decisions they make now will shape their future. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll be back soon with more.